Her parents had taught her to hide her fire, but she knew that her sister, Eblena, would burn things she didn't want and get better ones in return. She once tried to act like her sister to ask her father for a new book, but her father recognized her. It was only much later that she realized her sister would never ask for something as insignificant as a book. The night her parents were murdered by Aslan assassins, her sister told her to knock on someone's door. She had a feeling that if she did something wrong, those violet flames that just killed the assassins would kill her too. The night her sister killed their teacher, she said that his ambition was too small, that all he wanted was a fragile nation. She, on the other hand, wanted much more power than he could ever imagine. Her sister asked her what she wanted, but all her dreams were tiny in comparison. Her sister says it's fine. If you don't know yet, for now, you can become me. And just like that, she became a shadow. Two Tyrants are caught while trying to steal from a warehouse. As the soldiers are about to take them away, the warehouse suddenly catches on fire, and Reed helps them run away. One of the men, Wayne, is extremely apologetic about getting Reed involved. Reed gives them some of her medicine that she has taken from Rose Island, and asks if they know anything about Dublin, but neither of them want to answer. The soldiers come looking for them, but a girl in Dublin uniform ambushes them and knocks them out. Her name is Simone, and she seems to be the Tyrant's leader. Reed asks her why she's dressed like that, since she knows Simone isn't actually with Dublin, but that just makes the girl angry. Wayne calms her down and tells her that Reed saved them from the Victorians, though they didn't manage to steal anything. Reed says she can go with them and see if she can help. Bagpipe and Chen are asked to investigate Dublin specters that attack the Victorian squad. They do manage to find a group of Dublin soldiers, but strangely they are all already dead, and were reanimated by a violet fire that burns in their eyes, the same fire that Bagpipe saw in County Hillock. Simone's group arrive at a village, and Wayne tries to beg for some food, but they got over a dozen mouths to feed, and no one wants to give away that much food for free. The others got too hungry and starts attacking a passing convoy for food. Coincidentally, Chen and Bagpipe are traveling with the convoy, and Reed has to step in and promise that they're not actually bad people. Bagpipe is pretty happy to see Reed again, since Rose Island didn't allow them to see each other. Reed says she happens to be escorting the Tyrants while looking for Dublin, and Bagpipe says she and Chen are also looking for Dublin, and they can go together. Most of the Tyrants want to keep traveling so that they can settle in Duke Wellington's territory, where the treatment of the Tyrants is much better. But Simone insists on finding Dublin, and she still believes that Reed is going to ditch them sooner or later. Some also want to follow Simone, though Wayne points out that none of them actually know what Dublin is like. Harmony meets with the Colonel, an officer of Duke Wellington, as well as an officer of Dublin, though his dual identity doesn't matter much anymore after Eblena is openly working with Wellington. From their conversation, it's revealed that Harmony is being watched by spies sent by the Duke of Castor on suspicions of her not being loyal to Victoria. The incident at County Hillock is described as a betrayal led by the elocutionist, and Mandragora is tricked into being complicit. Eblena gave Harmony the task of tracking down Reed, and the Colonel reminds her to not let her personal feelings interfere with the mission. Harmony then attends a reception. While chatting, a businessman brings up the Tyrants, and says that there was a strange fire at one of the warehouses, which was very hard to put out, and they didn't find any traces of explosives. Harmony is shocked when she realizes that it was Reed, and wonders why she left Rose Island and came back. While Harmony is busy being surprised, the spy, Fisher, has been watching her. He reports his findings to the Duke of Castor, and after poring over the reports of the County Hillock incident, figures out that Eblena has a sister. Reed leads the group to one of Rose Island's safe houses, giving them food and tents. They decided that those who can't travel anymore can stay, and after the situation blows over, they can start building their homes. Bagpipe and Reed have a little talk, where Reed tells Bagpipe a bit about her childhood, and Bagpipe tells her about her hometown. Reed still wonders why she was saved, since she doesn't know what Outcast saw in her. Bagpipe asks what Reed sees in herself, but Reed doesn't know what to say. After several days of traveling, the Tyrants finally find a Dublin squad, but they are engaged in battle with Victorian soldiers. The Victorian commander notices them and orders to retreat. A Tyrant goes over to the Dublin side and asks to join them, but he too is attacked, and Chen has to save him. These Dublin soldiers, like the one Chen and Bagpipe encountered previously, are also already dead. The Tyrants are forced to run. In Dublin's ranks, however, Simone sees her brother. It turns out that Simone's brother joined Dublin, and she had been looking for him ever since. After Reed explains what happened to them, and finally accepting that her brother is dead, Simone leaves at night to find the Dublin soldiers with the intention to put her brother to rest. She gets a sneak attack off, but it doesn't do much to the soldier, and she's immediately surrounded. She is saved when Reed comes in time to burn up the zombies. Simone dusts off a mask and places it back on her brother's face. She tells Reed that her brother once took her outside the city and showed her the fields of Tara, how he was proud to say that he skipped work today, and that was his way to stand up to the Victorians. She begins to cry, and asks Reed if the future Dublin promised is true. The Tyrants reach the border of Duke Wellington's territory, where they finally get the chance to properly rest. Simone made a large pot of stew, and the others begin to sing. They haven't been this happy in a very long time. Chen pulls Reed aside to talk. She had known that Reed is a Draco since the beginning. Reed asks if Bagpipe knows, and Chen says she doesn't, but she'll find out eventually. It's a responsibility she'll have to face. But Chen adds that, to her followers, whether she's a Draco or not isn't important. They hear the singing from within the tent, and goes inside to join the others. The peace is broken when Fisher's soldiers charge into the campsite and subdue the Tyrants. Fisher says he won't harm the civilians, and that he's here to question Reed about the fire at the warehouse, though during the interrogation, he reveals that he knows that she is her sister's double. At the same time, Harmony and the Colonel arrive with Dublin forces. Fisher offers Reed his protection, but Reed refuses. She ignites the tent and runs out. In the commotion, Simone helps the others cut their bindings. They see the fire in the middle of the forest and decide to rescue Reed. Yelling her name, they run towards the light. Reed hears them calling for her, but the Colonel gets in her way. Even though Harmony wanted Reed to live, the Colonel intends to kill her to get rid of a potential source of instability. Reed says she doesn't want to be her sister's enemy, and only want to fix her mistakes. The Colonel just scoffs at her morality and calls her a hypocrite. She hears the Tyrants yelling in pain. Just a few hours ago, they sang songs together. Leaving the burning forest behind, they reunite in a clearing, but several people, including Simone, didn't make it out. Bagpipe confronts Reed about her being the leader of Dublin, having realized her identity after seeing the fire. As much as Reed wants to deny it, she admits that she is. She says she intended to die in County Hillock, and after being saved, she embarked on this journey to try to undo some of the pain she had caused. Back then, she would have said that the deaths were necessary for the greater good, but now she can't bring herself to say it anymore. Back then, she was afraid of blood and death, but even when she hid herself away as a shadow, blood was continuing to be spilt. She asks, can't Dublin's dream come true? As much as Bagpipe is disappointed in Reed, she knows that the Victorians are also responsible for what happened at County Hillock. She turns to Chen and says that it's time for them to leave. They came to investigate Dublin, and now their job is done. Duke Wellington's battleship stops near the ruins of the former Tyrant Kingdom. After its fall, the Aslands left it to be devastated by catastrophes. The closest mobile city, County Oakwood, prepares for the ship's docking. The Duke asks if Eblena wants to visit the city, and she says she's curious how it turned out after the fire. After all, at one point, it was her home. That night when she killed her teacher, he asked her what she thinks will happen after his death. She says the tyrants will lose their protector, that they will be tormented by unjust laws until they couldn't take it anymore. And when the time comes, she will pull them out of the ashes. Her teacher smiles and says he didn't choose wrong. The Terrans head for the kingdom ruins, where the originium left by the catastrophes can hide them and stop any pursuers. Reed ventures deeper into the ruins alone, where she finds a fire left by her sister that had been responsible for raising the dead. She sees a vision of her shadow, who stops her from extinguishing it. The shadow says her sister did the necessary evils that Reed can never do. Reed says she won't believe that her sister's method is the only way. She remembers when she first met Mandragorum, but was afraid that her fire would burn her, but her sister pulled her up. She wonders if things could be different if she extended her hand instead. The shadow changed into Dublin's leader, who says she was only pretending to be strong in front of the others, that she's just imitating her sister, that she can only be a shadow. Before Reed realized, she had extinguished the fire with her own flames. For the first time, her sister smiled approvingly. She asks if Reed wants to replace her, but Reed shakes her head. She doesn't care that she's a shadow, but she will be the shadow of the leader that the Terrans look up to. She returns to the camp to one of the wounded Terrans. She asks if they're afraid of her fire, and they say of course not. So she holds her hand and heals them with her flames. One of them asks her what the Terrans are exactly, so Reed tells them how the Victorians came and turned Terra into their territory, how they wiped out the Terran culture, how the Terrans had to turn themselves into Victorians if they wanted something in life. But Reed says it's fine if they don't know that they're Terrans, that it's injustice that they're fighting against, that the Terrans shouldn't have to run away, that they should have a peaceful home. One day, they'll cross paths with Dublin, and when that happens, she'll go see her. The Colonel reports back to Eblena, who says that now that Reed has realized her authority as a Draco, she'll return to her soon enough. As Fisher is driving back from the mission, he stops to take a walk, where he meets Wayne, who decided to settle down in the Duke of Castor's territory. A loud rumbling makes both of them turn and look, and they see Duke Wellington's battleship approaching. Fisher had thought that Wellington was their enemy, and his efforts were to prevent more from being dragged into the war he will cause. But now, the Duke of Castor had permitted Wellington to move through her territory. He tells Wayne to run and drives away, leaving behind the noise of the house being crushed by the battleship.